We are back on Taking Care of Business on Koerner Radio, News Talk 1180, 1230 KGEO, 1410 KERI, and now in Albuquerque, New Mexico at 1000 KKIM.
Pretty soon we'll spend all the time giving station codes.
I know, I'm not going to be able to do it on one breath anymore.
I know.
Our guest by phone is the Majority Whip of the U.S. House of Representatives, one of the good guys, our own Congressman Kevin McCarthy.
Well, you said good guy, but we're going to have to watch his votes.
Ooh!
Gladly, watch them all. But, hey, congratulations on in New Mexico as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. That's nice of you. Talking about the budget, looking at this thing, it's insane. You guys just passed this thing, and I think McClintock put it this way. He said, for every dollar of savings, there was $41 of tax increases. So they didn't help the problem; they just exasperated it a little bit.
Yeah, I did not vote for it. You're talking about the fiscal
cliff
at the end of the
which
year.
you did not vote for, right?
I did not vote for it.
Yeah, to your credit.
Now, the challenge there is of what was transpiring. It wasn't based upon this Congress, but 12 years ago they decided that the tax cuts would not be put in permanently. So if you did nothing, they would go up. Now, what happened is everything else, the president was just based upon wanting these tax increases to go up. Now, that harms the economy. It harms small business, the creator of the jobs. Small business creates more jobs than any large corporations. All facts show that. And we're at our lowest point of starting small business any time in the last 17 years. Well, that's where the taxes were going to hit, especially with those S-corps, which small businesses mainly run as. The president continued to drive that through. You were able to stop or make permanent some tax policy, which was good for making those permanent, but the spending in it just went on, and I thought we'd have a better argument to going on further if we put the fight and went a little further with it.
How did Boehner get reelected based on all the things that are taking place back there?
Well, the one thing you've got to realize, we only control the House, not the Senate and the presidency. It is a tough job where it's at, of where he's going. This president is bent on not just from his policy. I think he's bent on trying to break the Republican Party.
No question.
The thing we have to be smart about, we need to pick our fights. But when we pick our fights, we have to fight them. And we've got to put ourselves in the best position to win those fights. And I think the fight that's coming up, you listen to the president say he wanted a balanced approach, 3 cuts for every $1 in spending, and all he did was go and get the revenue. Now the battle is over spending, and I think we're in a much stronger position than we were prior.
Kevin, this reminds me of exactly what they did to Reagan and to Bush, where, they got the increases up front and promised that they'd come back with the cuts, and the cuts never came.
Yeah.
Does this look like the same kind of scenario to you?
Well, it's not over yet. So the thing we have is, you watch March 1st and March 27th. That is the beginning. And I will tell you this Republican Congress is ready for the fight, and we're going to stand up to it. Look, if you get to the 27th and the president wants to shut down the government because he wants to spend more, that's where it's going to go. We have produced a budget. We have done what we're supposed to. If the Senate does not produce the budget, and if we didn't produce one, we shouldn't be paid. But the American public should focus on the number one responsibility of either elected officials that go there in the House or in the Senate is producing a budget.
Well, the rating for the Senate back, I think, is below 10% now, which is atrocious. It's worse than car salespeople or insurance agents.
Ooh, even insurance agents?
Yeah.
Is that bad?
That's us.
That's crazy. Kevin, something else I wanted to talk to you about, and I appreciate you coming on, but, I knew 20 minutes wasn't going to be enough. But I don't know if you heard the news. Remember Damon Dunn, who ran for Secretary of State as a Republican? Damon dropped the R behind his name. He's now an independent, and he's running for mayor of Long Beach. Now, it's a nonpartisan job, so I can understand, him dropping, his party affiliation. But I'm seeing a lot more of this from the minority community, and it's a little scary because we really should be pushing our message to them as Republicans, because really we're the only game in town for them, yet they don't feel the warm and fuzzy from us. What can we do to change that? Because unless we get a hold of the Hispanic community and the African American community, we're not going to survive as a Republican Party.
No, we won't be able to grow when you look. But if you look at our fiscal policy where we are, we can reach individuals. I think the American public looks at the Republican Party and they think we don't care. I think take our messaging, the thing I say that we need to do fundamentally is the Jack Kemp approach.
Yes.
Jack Kemp took his conservative policies but solved solutions and went and fought for them. Jack Kemp cared about poverty and changing it, and he had a better idea for it than what the government housing did. And he went in and he transformed it. Now, it wasn't an easy fight, and you didn't win it the first time you fought it, but he went into the neighborhoods and he showed how to change other things. We need to take that same policy in everything what we do, and it's the cheerful persistence, right? Lots of times people see the anger. Well, what about the opportunity that we're creating? What about the positiveness that we're creating? That's what we have to emphasize.
I agree. Our guest by phone, Majority Whip of the House, Congressman Kevin McCarthy. You know, Kevin, I remember talking to Damon when he was running for Secretary of State, and at the time he was living in Marina del Rey, and I said, you know, have you gone out to the black community, to the inner city? He said, they haven't sent me out there. I said, Damon, I said, from where you live, you need to make a diamond shape and go out about 5 miles, and you'd hit all of the inner city, and that's where you need to be, because our message is the message they need to hear, but they need to hear it from people, and we're not getting that message across, and we're still not getting it across.
No, we've got a long way to go and a long way to improve. You know, the fastest growing party in California has declined a state.
Right.
And but I think we're waking up here. You know, there's a couple things that I do just here in the district. I always do teletown halls because I think our government and our elected officials need to be held accountable. We expect government to be, one, accountable, but also efficient and effective. Now, the way different things I do once a month, I'll go and work in some other business, right? Because how do you understand the challenges of what people are facing and something else? And it's different parts of the community and others. Till you go and work there and understand it. Just last week I was in Jake's, going through the challenge of a small business. But, you know, you own a small business, it's not just the tax you're paying. You got to make the burritos. You got to make everything else. You got to the quality, managing the individuals.
So, Kevin, next month you're going to come out to Clay and my office and work on insurance?
Work on Obamacare.
I think that'd be a good place to work.
Yeah, coming.
I want to make sure the donuts are coming in that day.
Guaranteed.
Hey, Kevin.
And I only go for Smith's, and I like the chocolate.
We've had him on, too.
Yes, we have.
Jim Balmain is a fantastic man.
Yes,
hey,
he is.
immigration. You know, we're talking about giving everybody a free pass. If we do that, I see that as the end of the Republican Party.
Well, you cannot. We have to deal with immigration, though. There's not one of us that doesn't believe that the immigration system we currently have is broken. Our borders are not protected. But the idea that you would go back and repeat the mistakes of the past, saying, okay, we'll make everybody, give them amnesty and say we'll fix the borders later, that doesn't work. But that's not what Rubio's saying. Rubio's saying the borders have to be fixed first. People don't get to jump ahead of in the line or anything else, and it's an outline and one of the details. Now, what the president is saying much different. The president is saying he's going to do something by executive order, his way or no way. That is why we went and created America, because we didn't believe in one person's way. We believed in the voice of America. And one of the items that keeps America so strong is the rule of law. And if you create a society where you're breaking down the rule of law by generations, you'll break the core of America apart.
Well, how do you get the king to follow the rule of law?
Well, remember, we got 3 branches. Remember what the decision just happened judicially recently, that his recess appointments are not legal.
And what have they done with those appointments? Are they terminating them?
Well, we're going to continue to fight. They're going to have to. It's, you know what? We live in America of a rule of law. And you've got a House that we are going to sit and we are going to fight for what is right. And this is a battle. No one says it's not a battle. But this is why people need to be engaged with us.
Yeah, it's crazy. You know, on the immigration bill, we've got about a minute left, Kevin, but, you know, we've got Kern County now, 50% Hispanic, and I think a lot of people aren't too crazy about, you know, the compromise that was reached. What do we do about that? How do we get people to come on board with this?
Well, remember, this is just an outline. Details matter, and this is the beginning. We could have a discussion, and this is where people need to be engaged, expressing, and this is where I'll be watching as well. So remember, anybody could put a nice title to a bill. It's what the words in the bill that you want to read.
Right. Kevin, thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate you coming on. We'd love to have you back on soon.
I'd love to be on again. I appreciate all the time you give me.
Okay, thank you, Kevin.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kevin.
Bye.
Now, before we get off the air, Clay, you wanted to talk about something. We got about a minute left.
Well, I was over on the coast. I have a new client over on the coast, Ventura, called the Pierpont Inn.
Love that place.
It's a hotel and a restaurant that's been there for over 100 years, and I was so impressed with what they're doing over there and how they're building that and remodeling it and bringing it up to code, and the view from the restaurant over the ocean. And we spent the night there, and they've got these brand new beds. They're as comfortable as can be, but you have to watch out for the ghosts. I understand there's ghosts that are still roaming the halls of the Pierpont Inn.
I have to tell you a quick story. When I used to be an insurance agent in Los Angeles, I used to go down to the Pierpont all the time. And they have a room just off the view. It's in the back. And it's a little bungalow there, and it's got its own fireplace and everything. It's very, very romantic room. Very, very nice. Highly recommend the Pierpont.
I'm not going with you.
No. Definitely not going to go with us. So next weekend we've got a great show with Tom Del Barco and Ralph Reed, former presidential candidate. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you in 167 hours on Taking Care of Business on Koerner Radio News Talk 1180.